Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive with us.
Yeah, welcome back.
Today we're taking a look at psychedelics and the subconscious mind.
A fascinating area.
Really is. And you know, there's this idea that there's like this hidden world within each of us.
Absolutely.
And psychedelics maybe can open that up.
Kind of pull back the curtain, right? And see what's in there.
Right. And so the mission today is like, can we figure out if psychedelics are like a key to this world?
Yeah.
And can we actually understand the language that it speaks?
Right, because it's not going to be, English or French or...
Right, it's going to be some totally different stuff.
Something else.
Yeah, and to help us on this journey, we have some really interesting sources today.
Yeah.
We have Aldous Huxley's Doors of Perception.
Classic.
A classic where he writes about his experiences with mescaline.
Yeah.
We have some recent academic research on DMT.
Very interesting.
And we have this guidebook called The Psychedelic Experience, which is based on the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Okay, now we're talking.
Yeah.
This is going to get deep.
We're going deep today.
We are.
So Huxley, in his book, describes these really vivid experiences. And he talks about seeing the isness of things. And I thought that was so fascinating.
Isness?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Well, he's basically saying that like he's seeing objects in a way that he never has before.
Right.
Like, for example, chair legs.
Okay.
To him, they're not just chair legs anymore.
Right.
They become something profound, almost angelic. He compares them to like Saint Michael and all angels.
That's something else.
Yeah, it's like they're vibrating with this hidden energy.
So it's like psychedelics are almost like turning down the volume on the everyday world.
Yeah.
And turning the volume on something else that's hidden there.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's like, what if our brains have this like filter that blocks out a lot of information?
Like a spam filter or something. Yeah, like a spam filter, like you were saying, so we can focus on just the things that we need to do.
Right. The tasks at hand.
Right, but then psychedelics come in and they kind of loosen that filter, and suddenly we're flooded with all these perceptions and insights that were always there but just hidden.
Well, and Huxley, he described it as seeing like draperies transform into these like living hieroglyphs.
Wow.
Full of meaning,
That's wild.
And it's like the art of like Botticelli or Van Gogh, he said.
Oh, wow.
So, he's really seeing things in this completely different way.
Yeah, and it made me think, have you ever had a moment, maybe you're in nature or something, and you just suddenly become so aware of an object?
Oh, yeah.
As if it's more than just the physical thing.
At the time.
Like the way the sunlight hits a leaf or something.
Yeah, like there's this essence to it.
Exactly.
That you're suddenly aware of.
Yeah, and it's just so significant in that moment.
Yeah, you're like, woo!
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
So I wonder if those moments are like glimpses into what psychedelics can reveal on a larger scale.
Right, it's like our subconscious is trying to communicate with us through those moments.
And speaking of the subconscious, this guidebook we're exploring, that's based on the Tibetan Book of the Dead.
Yeah.
It talks about encountering like these peaceful and wrathful deities.
Okay.
During a psychedelic journey.
That sounds intense.
It's pretty wild, right? But what if these deities are like symbolic representations of something deeper?
Ooh, I like where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Like, what could that be?
Well, Carl Jung, this psychologist, he had this idea of archetypes.
Right, these universal symbolic figures.
Yeah, like the hero, the mother, the trickster. And he said that these archetypes appear across cultures and throughout history.
Right, and they often represent like, these fundamental human experiences.
Right, so maybe those deities in the Tibetan Book of the Dead are not literal beings.
But like aspects of ourselves.
Exactly, yeah, like our deepest fears or desires personified.
Wow, so it's like our subconscious is speaking to us in this language of symbols, using these archetypes to convey these messages that are really hard to grasp in our everyday lives.
Exactly. So then the question is like, can we actually learn to understand this language?
Right.
And make sense of the messages that they're sending?
Yeah. Can we decipher the code of the subconscious?
Exactly. And I think the Tibetan Book of the Dead might have some clues.
Okay, interesting.
It's often interpreted as this like guide to navigating the psychedelic experience.
Right.
And it says that it's important to recognize that these visions are coming from within.
Okay.
Not from some external force. So it's like a reminder that this is about exploring your own mind.
Your inner landscape.
Exactly.
than some objective reality.
Yeah, so instead of freaking out when you see a wrathful deity.
Right. Which would be my first instinct, probably.
Probably right.
Yeah.
You try to understand, like, what it represents within you.
Okay. So it's about understanding the symbolic language of the subconscious.
Exactly. And the book also describes, like, these 6 realms of existence.
Oh, wow.
And some people think that those are metaphors for different states of consciousness.
So like a map.
Yeah, like a map of the inner territory that we might encounter
Right.
during a psychedelic experience.
Okay, so we've got this portal to the subconscious,
Yeah.
revealed by psychedelics, these symbols, these archetypes, different states of consciousness. But how do we prepare for this journey?
Right.
Can we train ourselves
Yeah.
to understand and navigate this inner world? That's where this whole idea of set and setting comes in. You know, it's like it's super important, your mindset and environment.
Okay, so it's not just about taking the psychedelics.
No.
It's about, like, creating the right conditions
Exactly.
for a meaningful experience.
Yes, set the stage.
Oh.
You know, in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, it really stresses that preparation.
For the journey. You know, having a clear mind, setting an intention, you know.
So like setting an intention for what you're hoping to get out of the experience.
Yeah. What do you want to learn?
Okay,
What do you want to see?
makes sense.
And you know, the guidebook even offers advice on, like, how to handle challenging visions.
Okay.
Because it acknowledges that you might encounter things that are unsettling.
Right. I mean, especially if you're encountering like those wrathful deities.
Exactly, yeah, like feelings of judgment, maybe guilt, even intense sexual imagery.
That sounds kind of scary.
It can be, yeah. But instead of, like, resisting or getting swept away by those experiences, it encourages acceptance and non-attachment.
Okay, so non-attachment even to like really difficult emotions.
Yeah, because remember, the book suggests that those figures often represent, like, aspects of ourselves
Right.
that we've repressed or denied,
Oh, okay.
like shadows lurking in the subconscious.
So it's like those wrathful deities are actually challenging us to confront our like shadow selves. Exactly. Yeah, our deepest fears, and ultimately to embrace like the fullness of who we are.
So it's not about indulging in those negative things,
No.
but about observing them with detachment and compassion.
Yeah, it's about understanding that both the light and shadow sides are part of our wholeness.
So we're talking about, like, confronting those difficult emotions and experiences head on,
Yeah,
not running away from them.
exactly. Yeah, face them.
Okay, but how do you actually do that in the middle of, like, a psychedelic experience?
Well, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, it offers specific techniques for like navigating those challenging encounters.
Okay.
And it emphasizes remembering that the psychedelic experience is temporary.
Okay.
It's a journey, a process, but it will eventually end.
Okay, so that's, like, a good thing to remember when things get really intense.
Exactly. Yeah, you're not stuck there.
Right, because in that moment, it can feel like it's never going to end.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the guidebook also offers guidance on how to navigate like the transition back
Okay.
to the normal world.
Right, like coming back down.
Yeah, and it warns against like clinging to that ego transcendent state,
Okay.
emphasizing integrating those insights and experiences into your everyday life.
Right, so it's not about staying in that blissful state forever.
No.
It's about bringing back the lessons.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like you've gone on this incredible inner journey, and now you have to weave those threads of that experience
Yeah.
into the fabric of your everyday life.
Right.
Your relationships, the way you see the world.
I imagine that's really challenging.
It can be, yeah. You know, it can feel like returning to a world that hasn't changed while you've undergone this fundamental shift in perception.
Right. You're, like, speaking a different language
Yeah,
that
exactly.
other people don't understand.
And that's where finding a community of like-minded individuals
Right.
can be really helpful.
So people who've had similar experiences.
Yeah, people who've explored these realms, you know, and the guidebook actually talks about the importance of sharing your experiences with others who have traveled a similar path.
Right. So you're not alone.
Exactly, yeah, you're returning to the tribe,
Okay.
sharing your stories, learning from each other's wisdom.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and this sense of community, this shared understanding, can be really valuable in helping you make sense of what you've encountered
Okay.
and integrate it into your life.
So we've talked about preparation, navigating challenging experiences, the importance of integration and community. But there's this other aspect of the guidebook that I found really fascinating.
Okay, what's that?
Its emphasis on the role of the guide
Ah, the guide. Yes, this is where it gets really interesting.
in the psychedelic experience.
Yes, the Tibetan Book of the Dead it places a huge emphasis on having a skilled guide to
Okay.
help you navigate the psychedelic journey.
It's like having a Sherpa when you're climbing Mount Everest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone who knows the terrain
Mm-hmm.
can anticipate challenges and can help you stay safe.
What I thought was really interesting is that the guidebook recommends that the guide themselves.
Oh, wow.
Why is that?
It's about fostering empathy and shared understanding.
Okay.
You know, the guidebook suggests that by experiencing a milder version of what the Voyager's going through, the guide can better understand their perspective
Okay.
and offer more relevant support.
So they can actually relate to what the person's going through.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like stepping into their shoes.
Wow, that's next level empathy.
It is.
But wouldn't that be risky for the guide?
It can be, yeah. And that's why it's so important to choose a skilled and experienced guide.
Right.
Someone who can handle those dual roles responsibly.
So it's not about the guide having their own full-blown journey.
No.
It's about creating like a subtle connection.
Yeah, a shared space.
Okay.
Where they can better understand and support the Voyager.
It almost sounds like a form of shared consciousness is forming between the guide and the Voyager. Like they're tuning into each other's frequencies.
That's a fascinating way to put it.
Yeah, and it makes me think of like some of those theoretical interpretations of quantum mechanics
Oh, yeah.
that talk about interconnected consciousness.
A shared field of awareness
Yeah.
that transcends the boundaries of individual minds.
Okay, that's a whole other deep dive.
Another day.
So let's bring it back to this deep dive for a second.
Okay.
So we've seen how set and setting are really important for a meaningful psychedelic experience.
Yeah.
How the Tibetan Book of the Dead offers guidance on handling those challenging visions and integrating those experiences back into everyday life.
Yes.
And then the really profound role of the guide in providing support and fostering empathy.
Absolutely.
So it's a journey that can be both challenging and transformative,
Absolutely.
requiring preparation, courage, and a willingness to face the unknown landscapes.
Within ourselves.
Yes. But beyond the individual journey, there's also this really intriguing theme of interconnectedness.
Oh, yeah.
Like psychedelics might be tapping into something larger than ourselves, something that connects us all.
A collective unconscious, maybe?
Yeah. And speaking of interconnectedness,
Yes.
remember those strange insectoid entities that we mentioned earlier?
Oh, yeah, those guys.
They're back.
They're back.
And they might just hold the key to unlocking an even deeper level of understanding
Okay.
about the psychedelic mind. So those insectoid entities are kind of creeping me out, to be honest. Like, what are they really?
It's one of the biggest mysteries, isn't it? I mean, people describe them in such detail.
Right, and they're not just like vague shapes.
No, they're talking about beings of light with like intricate geometric patterns and this sense of like profound intelligence.
Okay, so they sound pretty intense.
They can be, but a lot of people report feeling like a sense of awe or even love
Oh, wow.
in their presence.
So it's not always negative.
No, not at all.
But if they're not just hallucinations,
Right.
what are they trying to tell us?
Well, some researchers think they could be like archetypal figures,
Okay.
like the deities we were talking about earlier, you know, representing aspects of ourselves, or like universal forces.
Right.
But others think they might be entities from like other dimensions
Whoa.
or realms of consciousness.
Okay, now that's getting a little too sci-fi for me.
I know, right?
But before we go too far down that rabbit hole,
Yeah,
we should probably talk about like the ethical considerations
absolutely.
and the potential risks of psychedelics.
Yes, because these are powerful substances.
Right.
And they need to be treated with respect.
Yeah, it's not something to just like try on a whim.
No, you really need to do your research.
Right. Have a skilled guy.
Yes, a supportive environment and a clear intention for the journey.
And it's important to talk to like a doctor or a therapist.
Yeah, especially if you have any mental health conditions.
Right. Because psychedelics aren't for everyone.
Exactly.
And even with preparation and guidance, things can still get pretty intense.
Oh, absolutely. They can bring up difficult emotions,
Right.
repressed memories.
Oh, wow.
Even lead to like temporary psychological distress.
Okay, so it's important to be prepared for that.
Yes.
Yes.
Be ready to face your shadow side.
So it's not all like rainbows and unicorns.
No, it's real inner work.
But for people who are drawn to this and they do it responsibly,
Yeah.
it sounds like the potential benefits are incredible.
They can be life-changing.
Yeah, and there's so much research happening now
Right.
on the therapeutic applications of psychedelics.
Like psilocybin for depression and anxiety, and MDMA for trauma.
It's almost like we're rediscovering this ancient wisdom
Yeah.
that's been hidden for so long.
And now science is finally catching up.
Imagine like a future where psychedelics are integrated into mainstream healthcare.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, used responsibly and ethically.
To help people heal.
And maybe, just maybe, those insectoid entities are waiting to guide us towards that future.
Who knows what they know?
Yeah, it's a pretty mind-blowing thought.
It is.
Well, I think that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Wow, we covered a lot of ground.
We did. We talked about hidden portals, symbolic languages, ancient wisdom, and even encountered a few strange beings along the way.
We did.
But remember, the journey of self-discovery is ongoing.
Absolutely.
And the psychedelic realms are just one path among many.
So keep exploring.
Keep questioning.
Keep expanding your mind.
And never underestimate the power of your own consciousness.
To shape your reality.
So until next time, keep diving deep, everyone.